What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we are going to go over a topic that a lot of people have been asking about. They've been wanting like a tier list or something with like the cores of origin, which ones are the best ones to go for, which ones they should go for, and it really comes down to what team compositions you have, because so much of this goes into, well, first off, what Transcendence heroes do you have? Second off, which cores actually make heroes more relevant versus previously if they've fallen off. I mean, you know, there's a few of them out there that were really strong at one point, but now in the meta, they not either the best or they don't really provide enough to your team compared to other Transcendence heroes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over individual cores on heroes that really help modify or bring them back into the meta. The first one being Lord of Fear Aspen. I've seen a lot of people on Discord, Reddit, all talking about Lord of Fear Aspen. I mean, he was like really good with his Horrify abilities for quite a while. He does seem to have dropped off a little bit, but his core of origin really does some amazing stuff in both utility and buffs for the team that he is on. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys think about this. We'll probably go over like each one individually and kind of talk about the pros and cons of going for it and going for the hero in general. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get going. Now, before we get too much into this, I do want to say people have let me know Regencys has made an entire video. I think it's literally like a 20 or 30-minute video about pretty much what his opinions are on all of these core of origins. So if it is something you're looking to hear for all the information, I'm going to put a link in the description to go check out his video. He has a lot of really great endgame knowledge. He's got like such an awesome whale account. It's awesome. And he has a lot of knowledge. He spends a ton of time on this game. So go check it out. Go give him a subscribe too over there. He has a lot of cool content, but we're going to try to focus individually on specific heroes because we're getting to the point, there's a lot of core of origins out there, and figure out which one to go for on your account is a big question mark. I think for the average player, I would say, you know, just going for a Sword Flash one, it makes sense. It'll make your Sword Flash stronger. She's one of the strongest heroes in the game still to this date. But you guys know me. We don't like going for the meta. We like trying to build some interesting things. And one thing we have seen that has become very, very relevant is someone has made a resurgence in the meta, being Lord of Fear Aspen. So as you guys know, his Horrify ability, his Fear ability is very, very strong. It was like one of the best things you could run. A lot of people were running him with Jara teams just to really lock down enemies in Void Vortex at one time. But the one thing with him is he didn't provide that much. Like he provided quite a few good damaging abilities, but besides that, he didn't really give anything to his team necessarily. He had his own Demon King's armor, all that fun stuff. But one thing that we've seen come out with his core, it gives him more stats, of course, but it really gives his utility to everybody on his team. So when we go over his abilities here, at the beginning of the battle grants all allies one layer of Devil Armor. Now, Devil Armor is the big highlight right here. What is it? Well, if we jump down to the bottom here, every layer of Devil Armor increases control immunity by 15% for 3 rounds. This effect will decrease by 5 every round. So right off the bat, battle starts, everybody has 15% control immunity. It's absolutely awesome. It does tier off, but let's continue reading. If Lord of Fear Aspen defeats an enemy, grants all allies another layer of Devil Armor immediately. Now, in the current meta, it seems like we're not killing off targets very quickly. So I do think in the first couple rounds, it might drop down to 10 to 15, but then it will bounce back up eventually. When an ally releases a basic attack or active skill onto a horrified enemy, Lord of Fear Aspen additionally launches an attack dealing 400% attack damage to them. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but all these extra chase and ping type abilities really add up over time. And if you have a lot of heroes doing this, like Sword Flash, like Queen's Royal Guard, things like that, these little pings add up and are also great ways in PvP to get through unbending will layers. It's very, very strong. The next part, though, is what I like the most. When an enemy is horrified, increases all allies, except for Lord of Fear Aspen's, attack by 4% and damage reduction by 3% for 2 rounds. So if by chance you get your basic attack off, Basic attack targets back row enemies, dealing damage and reduces their control immunity, and a 60% chance to inflict fear, Abyssal Gaze, for 2 rounds. So this one is really strong because even though it says fear, it's still considered a horrify ability because it still has that heroes inflicted with Abyssal Gaze are unable to launch basic attacks, and then as a bonus, they also cannot crit. That cannot crit is pretty significant. I mean, that's really strong to let them not be able to actually crit your team. I mean, that's literally like a Asmodel shield for like not Asmodel shield, a Vesta flower on pretty much everybody. It's kind of crazy how many little stat debuffs and buffs we're getting in the game. It's getting to the point where it's hard to keep track of all of them. But this right here is important because, again, if he does get a good high roll, that's 4 enemies on the other side of the team. If you hit all of them and every single one of them goes off, that's essentially going to be increases all allies attack and damage. Now, I'm pretty sure that can stack. I'm pretty sure it can. I haven't personally tested it, but the other thing is investing in his tree can be pretty strong as well. If you look at his basic right here, it increases his Fear Abyssal Gaze chance to 75%. Up from the 60%, or I guess we should really look here, 70%. So it's a 5% increase if you have a Void 1 or higher hero. It's still pretty strong. There are some additional things. He gets additional precision. This is kind of big. That increases the duration of crit to 4 rounds. So I believe what that's talking about here is the self crit rate buff. So it gives it an additional round, which is good because then he'll be able to use his active and do even more damage. And then additionally reduces the target's damage reduction by 5% for 2 rounds. That is really, really big because yeah, you're already lowering their control immunity. You're also applying that fear effect, potentially very, very strong. Over to death spread right here. So whenever an enemy dies, increases self crit damage by 35% and 100% chance to inflict Fear Abyssal Gaze on all enemies. That is another one that is really, really, really cool synergy with the core right here. Another horrify effect. When it's triggered, additionally increases self crit by 10%. So he's just like a crit and crit damage machine here. And then when it is triggered, reduces crit by 10% for enemies without fear. That's pretty strong too. Moving over to Source of Fear. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with a fear effect, restores self HP. So this is just another thing where it's like it's keeping him alive, keeping him going, whereas his core is giving everybody else that survivability. It also has, at the end of each round, inflicts energy oscillation. For every 1 energy the target has, it deals extra damage, which is really cool. And then increases the duration of the self attack buff, the one right in here, by an additional 4 rounds, or not additional, but 2 4 rounds, up from 3 rounds. So it keeps it going, has you a higher chance to keep it always up and always going. The active ability is interesting too, because again, it has a chance to inflict Abyssal Gaze fear again. And with his active ability here, trigger condition of dealing extra damage, its targets less than 60% HP instead of 40%, kind of like the traditional Aspen. And yeah, his abilities seem very good. The one thing I will say is he is very good at clearing Dark Sealand, especially if you have some carries, Amun-Ra's, the traditional setups. He's very, very good. Now, you can always do like up to 25 with regular Aspen. Lord of Fear Aspen, when you start adding in something like his core, really does a lot because that control immunity is huge for your allies, especially if they're not fast enough to go before the enemy. And I do think this is going to make him push himself even further. It'll make him more useful in places like, oh, I don't know, going into Realms Gate 130 and higher, because those difficulties are just crazy. He can still be useful in Void Vortex as a backup kind of CC to your Jara. But this core, I think, is probably one of the best ones out there that make, not overall one of the best, is very, very strong, but it makes a hero that might have fallen off in meta, like Lord of Fear Aspen kind of has, and brings him back to the top with tons of utility on top of his damage. So let me know if you guys have tried this out. I jumped on someone's account the other day to kind of test it out because I don't have it built on mine just yet. And it seems like he's very, very strong at this point. So let me know what you guys think. Again, make sure you guys go to that first link in the description. Make sure you guys go give him a subscribe. He has a really cool, like I said, long video talking about just about every single core. So if you guys want all that information, go check him out. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.